Kaguchia, it's in the aftermath of the revelations done by the media coverage of the edible oil importation that Moses Kuria made the remarks that many have qualified as not meeting the moral decency threshold. And then what's your thinking into why it appears to be wrong, according to Moses Kuria, when a coverage is done on such an important importation plan that was approved by cabinet to get edible oil into the country, and the main purpose as to why that was done in the first cabinet was to level the prices of basic commodities in the country, because the window also had rice, wheat and other food, and bring down the cost of living. Why certainly does the cabinet secretary and his principal secretary and also other officials in the ministry feel that it's wrong to cover the government when it gets wrong?
I wouldn't want us to subject this discussion to the tragedy of a single story.
Yeah.
I would be happy if we can still remain more on the press freedom, yeah, rather than dwell on a single story, because we are looking at how
the broader picture.
The broader picture. And I would be very unfair myself to condemn media, particularly because I have been with you now for 8 years. Yeah. I have been on media for 8 good years as a resource person, as a content provider, and I have done this almost every other morning, even when I have left work so late. Like now, when I left work at 1 a.m., I'm still here at 6 a.m. to still do what I do best and what I like doing. And I do this here because I find that, again, we are objective. But I have also avoided many other areas where I have also felt that there's no objectivity. Mm-hmm. And one of the challenges that I have found with our media houses, my brother here, Bure, has said that media houses has dismissed journalists on the account of misreporting. But I think more often than not, media houses declare journalists redundant when they reach a certain level of earnings. They shed them off and hire younger, cheaper journalists. And to me, that, by the way, I find it very unprofessional. And that has actually made me to stop going to a certain media house, because I relate with journalists so well for like 3-4 years. They rise up the ranks. And when they get to a certain level of earning, they are declared redundant. And then you come the following year, you find new journalists, and the others are all crying outside there. And for that reason, and they must know, I refuse to go to that media house, because I found them treating their journalists extremely unfair. And I thought I did not really want to be part of that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I can't talk about it so openly, because I talk about it so openly, then I'm told I'm fighting the media. Again, is the press freedom. And I think that is a wrong approach to media freedom. And to me, that is one of the biggest challenges we have, because a journalist will be balancing between a low salary, some possible influences from other external forces, mm-hmm, and presenting the facts. And for that reason, the media houses themselves act as an agent of curtailing their own media freedom. And I would wish that media owners would really reconsider their position on journalism. They should just allow journalists to grow and continue paying them as much, because media houses are also earning so much from all the adverts that they also receive and every other business they do. But where I find it challenging to some of the journalists is where you find them, they're cherry picking the information that they're giving us. More often than not, you'll find that they have selective omission of details. So they will give you information, but then they will cherry pick what they think you need to get, you know, and then they leave all the key important facts, okay, from a story. Mm-hmm. And so what then that person reads that morning does not end up actually being the correct position, because the person who was presenting to you that has actually manipulated your thinking. And then that is one of the challenges that we find in some of the reporting that we have with journalists. The other thing, of course, is that journalists, more often than not, will put their own opinions onto stories as though it were the facts. So they will put away the facts and more often than not push their own opinions to the readers. And so you'll wake up one morning, for example, and find that a headline has been put, MPs killing Kenyans. Mm-hmm. Are you getting? Mm-hmm. And really that is an opinion from someone. Because by MPs doing a certain act doesn't mean that they have. They have also thought about it and they know what the outcome they want. But a person has come and declared that that one is killing Kenyans. And that is an opinion.
Is the problem the interpretation or the wordings?
No. You know, the person who is writing that has what they want to achieve at the end of the day, which is in accordance with their opinions. Other times, you'll also find some of the headlines which are also illogical conclusions. You find that someone has presented some few facts here and there, of course cherry-picking here and there, but the headline which is there sometimes, you read the headline, then you start reading the story, and there is absolutely no connection between the story and the headline. And of course, those people who will often not read the story, they will just go through the newspaper in the morning reading the headlines. Of course, you know what you have put in their mind. Again, that is also manipulative. It is wrong by the media houses to do that, and the journalists, for example, I mean, to be more precise. Of course, the other thing that you're also finding with our journalists is lack of context. You find a story that has been put there, but you try to look for the context in this, you know, you don't find it. So you will find someone has presented certain facts in a certain way, but they are completely misplaced from the issue that they're trying to push to the people. So these are some of the challenges that we are having. And of course, I'm not very sure whether media houses sometimes also want to attract a very highly trained journalist. You find that most of our highly trained journalists now, what happens is when they reach a certain level of growth, some of them also will move out into international media. Because also I also say like we are not willing and ready to pay well our very well performing journalists, so we are not able to sustain and retain them, and for that reason then we continue suffering from this low quality sometimes of coverage of stories and reporting of stories.
All right.
And I think that is what sometimes is bringing the fatigue, and also sometimes seeing, you know, making media sometimes look like it is not really researching and presenting proper facts for encouragement of democracy, growth of the democracy in a country like this.